pleasure to be able to do our ending pieces in the midst of worship. I think that presents a fun opportunity for us technology-wise, but it also plants us back into what this conference is all about. And so I hope that you see that in the next hour and a half until we end this piece here today. What Chig and I are going to do in our last two sections each is really plant us in the practical. We've been talking about a lot of different ideas, but how do these really concretely work in a congregational setting? And what I want to do right now is I want to bring you into the second piece of the What's Your Why focus from yesterday. So hopefully all of you have your name tags on with your whys that you've shared, which is just wonderful. And I'm having some technical issues.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Here we go. Now what I want to do is talk about some ways you might use this why in your congregational setting. And I think the best thing that you can do to really tell your congregation stewardship story is to share those whys with one another. I really believe that these whys are part of that treasure that we have in clay jars. I love this verse from 2 Corinthians. We have this treasure in clay jars so that it may be clear that this extraordinary power belongs to God and does not come from us. Our why stories, as we talked about yesterday, point to God and not to our own experiences. And I think this is one of the great ways that we tell the Christian story in our own day and age. To get even more practical, how might you actually share this? And here are just some ideas. We talked about yesterday sharing some of these whys on social media. Hopefully some of you, I saw, had shared your why on Facebook, maybe even on Twitter. I know that Fallon was taking pictures of some of you with your why name tags, which is a lot of fun. Be brave. Share your stories. If you're not a social media follower, maybe your congregation is. Could you share this on your congregation's Facebook page? This might also be a way to start your next committee meeting. Maybe you have a stewardship committee. Maybe you're on the vestry or the council or the session. Maybe you start out your next meeting together by sharing your why stories. Or if you're uncomfortable with the why language, maybe you do what we did last night, or just share your generosity stories with one another. For those of you out there who have some more introverted folks on your team, or you're like me, you tend to lean more introverted, you might want some time to think about this. This might be something that you send out prior to the team meeting to invite people to share. You might also share these during worship. We talked about this a bit earlier. How can we reimagine the offering? We all have a story to share. Maybe this is a time for you to invite somebody to turn to their neighbor and share a story. Maybe starting with something small. What brought you to church today? And then as you get more comfortable with the practice, growing from there. And last but not least, if your church has a bulletin or newsletter, maybe a weekly email, this is something great to feature in that. I mentioned to you guys yesterday that I did this Post-it note activity with the Northeast Pennsylvania Synod a few years ago, and it was so fun to see the 300 Post-it notes all over the walls, even the snarky ones that I told you guys about yesterday. What they did after that assembly is they took down every Post-it note and wrote it down on a Word document. They wrote it into a Word document. And then they shared those throughout the next year on their Facebook page. They really even didn't have to do that much work. So if this is something that you did during an adult forum or maybe a Wednesday night Lenten service with your congregation and had those variety of different Post-its up on the wall or something for people to write them down on, and you captured those, you really have a lot of great fodder for some other areas of your congregation and communications as well. Some other things you might do with them: build them into your congregation's annual response program. If you have an annual response program, if you invite people to pledge or estimate their giving, how can you incorporate some of these quotes on those documents? This is a great opportunity to see people who might be able to give great talks in worship or temple talks. Once you start hearing people's stories and those begin to unfold, some folks that you may not have ever expected had a story to tell might come to the forefront for you, and you might be able to tap them for a new type of ministry. You may very well even find some people who didn't know they were interested in stewardship, but really have a passion for generosity that you might be able to bring into the fold of your team. And then last but not least, and what I really want to focus on for the next few minutes, is developing a narrative budget. Now, just quickly, what a narrative budget does is that it pairs your why stories, why church, why give, with the numbers of your budget and puts just some shape and face and name to some of those numbers. Oftentimes, narrative budgets are organized around different themes. So for instance, in your congregation, you might have some words in your mission statement. Serve, community, worship, and have all of those different items in your line item budget organized around those specific words. You might then even invite the staff of your congregation, for instance, to say, how are you spending your time? Well, I spend about 50% of it preparing for worship, another 30% on our community, another 20% specifically on service. And then you can divide the salaries out in that way as well, helping people see where the pastors are spending their time. I can tell you that most people in congregations have absolutely no idea how pastors spend their time. They have absolutely no idea. They assume that they're preparing for a sermon on Sunday and then suddenly the work is done. Maybe they visit people in the hospital every once in a while, and they have a little more work to do because there might be a Wednesday night service, but that's about it, right? Those of us in this room hopefully know differently that pastors have a very full schedule and a very full life of ministry. And it's important for us to tell that story. I think it's also important for congregation members to know how that time is spent. That's not to say it's an excuse for nitpicking on a pastor, but if the congregation is all about engaging with the neighborhood, and the pastor is mostly spending their time on the people who are in the congregation, that's a good discernment point. What do we need to do to free up the pastor's time to be in the neighborhood? Or how can we as a congregation step up to be more involved in the neighborhood? Because we know it's not just about the pastor's ministry, it's about our ministry together. Just a quote that I'd love to share with you about narrative budgeting. The narrative budget, as the name implies, tells a story. It links every dollar and every gift to faithful expression of joy, of giving, and generosity of our God. Narrative budgets inspire, interpret, encourage, challenge, and inform donors about why their giving matters. Giving matters. And we need to be able to tell the stories behind it. I'm going to show you some examples in just a moment. Now, often right around this section, if I talk about narrative budgeting or I talk about the why, I'm surprised it didn't come up yesterday, I usually have somebody ask me that question that's right here on the bottom, which is, Grace, this is great. You're so inspiring. Very nice. But how do we actually pay the light bill? You haven't really talked about that yet, have you? How do you actually put this into practice with real bills? And I think as most of you here on the East Coast would understand, in Minnesota, it's not just the light bill, it's the heat bill. How are we paying this heat bill, especially in the midst of all the snow and the negative temperatures that we are getting? Not so much this year, but in previous years. I would tell you, the light bill has a story too. It's easy to tell a story about your vacation Bible school, your Sunday school, maybe even what's going on in a community center that's hooked on to your congregation. But what story is your light bill and your heat bill telling? Why are the lights on? Why is the heating on in your congregation? Is it on just because you think that the church should have lights on a Wednesday evening? Is it on just because at Friday night, we really ought to still be heating the church just in case somebody stops by? More than likely, it's because the choir is meeting on Thursday night. Alcoholics Anonymous is using that room downstairs on Tuesday mornings. It's those reasons. Tell me the ministry that's happening when the lights are on and the heat is there. And the same with the building. If your congregation does have a building, and we could have a long conversation about whether or not congregations should have buildings, but if you do have a building, how are you using that building for God's ministry? That's not a separate part of your budget. That's part of what makes this ministry happen, and that's how I think buildings should be utilized. I think one thing that narrative budgets do so well, and really all budgets do so well, is that it asks us to see, are we who we say we are? We have this mission and vision, but is how we're spending our money matching up with that? What does the way your congregation allocates its funds say about your congregation and the way that God is moving in our midst? And I'd love to share with you a quote from one of my favorite books, and it is in the bookstore, by Liz with The Soul of Money. Seriously, if you have not read it, read it. Read it. It's so wonderful. One of the greatest dynamics of money is that it grounds us. And when we put money behind our commitments, it grounds them too, making them real in the world. Money is the great translator from intention to reality, vision to fulfillment. You know, I think we heard something like this yesterday. Maybe we heard it in Chick's favorite stewardship verse from Luke. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I think we need to take the time to really breathe in that verse in a corporate sense. Where is our money going as a congregation, and what does that say about who we are? So here are just a few examples of narrative budgets. There's a lot of great material out there on narrative budgeting. I know, for instance, if I Googled it, there's plenty of things that are out there. You can find a variety of different resources. I know Christopher in his book, Not Your Parents' Offering Plate, spends quite a bit of time on it. He calls it missional budgeting. It's the same thing, just different names. So here's one way that you might do this. You see up here on the screen a lot of pictures. Narrative budgets are all about the pictures. This is the greatest time for you to tap those journalist types in your congregation who can take some photos, who can tell some stories. This section, this page of their budget is all about their local community. They've divided it into a couple areas, and they show you how much of their pie chart of their budget is going towards that pie. They give you a short description of their local community work, and they give you some bullet points on what they're going to be up to next. And I know you can't really read it up here, but there's also a critical needs section to say, for next year, this is what we really want to focus on in terms of our local community. They do this for every section of their budget. For those of you who are looking for kind of a baby step into the narrative budget format, I think this is a wonderful way to do it. This is a one-page narrative budget, and as you see, it just is utilizing Microsoft Office flip chart. That's it. It doesn't have any big pictures that are taken of the congregation, and although those are nice, sometimes we need a way to baby step in. So we talk about Christian education, mission, and outreach. They do breakout facilities. I personally wouldn't do that. But this is an easy way for people, at a glance, to get a sense of the budget. I'm sorry you can't read the text up on the screen. The thing I like about this one is there's a lot of color. There's a lot of facts. Okay, did you know we have this many people involved in this project this year? Did you know that this many youth were involved in the youth group? And they give you quotes. Quotes from youth who were involved in their youth ministry, which was very important for them. Quotes of folks who were involved in the ELCA youth gathering that year. It just gives you a sense like you were there. Because in reality, those monies that you were giving to the church were there and a part of this project. It gets you alive and excited about giving to the congregation rather than feeling like you're giving to numbers on a boring black and white line item budget. Nobody gets inspired by that. So just last but not least, why should we use stories? I think first, they connect money to ministry and ministry to money in a way that I don't know anything else does. Listening to people's stories about why they give and why they come to church reminds us of why giving to the church is so important. And I would especially say, after listening to the workshop that I was just in, which I'm so inspired by, the workshop on generosity and justice, as we began sharing at our tables our stories of generosity and what our churches could do together, if instead of giving to all of our disparate places, like Chick was talking about earlier, giving through our congregation, making bigger gifts to bigger projects, it was very inspiring to think about what kinds of small steps towards justice we can all do together. This is a great way to tell your congregation story. I mean, have you ever sat down and thought, what is our congregation story? What are we about? And I was really inspired by this. The church that I was a part of when I was in seminary actually had a book of stories that they carried around from Christ Church Lutheran. That throughout the years that they had been in ministry, they wrote little stories down every year. You could see kind of what this congregation was becoming. And they had a deep and rich history, a history that brought them kind of to the brink of almost extinction about 20 years ago, and then to see the death and resurrection of them coming out of it through these stories, really powerful. It promotes a culture of year-round stewardship, because as you can see, putting any type of narrative budget together with quotes and pictures is not a one-day affair. This requires time. It requires effort on behalf of all of the different committees in your congregation. So, this is a great opportunity to engage some new folks. What would it mean if you came to an artist in your congregation and said, "Hi, I'd love to get you involved in stewardship ministry, and before you freak out about having to ask people for money, all I want you to do is take some pictures of congregational events this year. Just take a few. Talk to a few people who have stories about this event. Just write down a few quotes. And that's it. That's their involvement in stewardship ministry. I guarantee you they might be a little nervous at first, especially given what stewardship would mean in your context. Only you can know that. But it allows them to branch out, learn more about stewardship ministry, and maybe even become more involved in other ways. And last but not least, it invites us to check in. Are we who we say we are, and are our priorities in the right place? Are we spending money in the ways that we say we want to? If we want more children in the congregation, but all of our money is going towards home visits with the elderly, is that who we say we are? Is God calling us to ministry in another direction? Or if God is calling us to do ministries with families, how can we do that work together as a community? So that's the end of this first TED Talk. And now I'm going to invite Chick up to do his second one, and then we'll continue on with the worship experience.